Testing, live. All right. Well, good morning, Morro Bay. I'd like to call to order the annual stakeholder meeting for the Tourism Business Improvement District. Today is April 6th, and for the record, the time looks like it's about 9:33 a.m. Very exciting day. As you may notice, for those of you out there watching, this is not our typical TBID monthly format. This is our annual meeting, and a lot of fun, good presentations to come. One of the things I'd like to point out is the last 30 minutes we've had a great continental breakfast here, coffee, and conversations amongst all the hoteliers, which makes the meeting great and an opportunity for us to all come together. The presentations today, we will hear from Chuck Davison, President and CEO of Visit SlowCal. We're going to hear from Jennifer Little, our Director of Tourism for Morro Bay, Marianne Stansfield, the CEO of Mental Marketing, and then we'll have concluding thoughts from Dave Buckingham, our City Manager. Before we get into today's presentation, though, I do want to take a moment and thank a lot of our previous board members, which I've had the honor to sit up here with in our usual format on a monthly basis. Those previous board members have put a lot of time, effort, and energy into promoting Morro Bay. I can't call all of them out. This has been around for about 7-8 years now, but I'd like to note the ones that I had time to spend with. Jane Beeman, Paul Van Buren, a big shout out to Michelle Honorud and to Joan Solu. Now I'd like to point out to all that if it weren't for the efforts of Joan and Michelle, the TBID might not even be in existence today. They championed the efforts for this. They used a lot of their time, resources, and energy. Now when I say that it's exciting to have a TBID that's around, as you'll see in the presentation, we have about an $800,000 budget that promotes the city of Morro Bay, our experiences. And that $800,000 is out there helping to drive heads into our beds and make Morro Bay a more vibrant community. With that being said, we do need to establish a quorum of our board members present here today. It's a little more difficult in this format, so let's start with, I believe we have our newest board member, Stephen Allen. Hi, Stephen. Let's see, who else do I see here? Board members, wave your hand for me, help me find you. Charlie Yates in the front row here. Maggie Jirin. Let's see here. Sean Green, and I do not see Taylor Newton present at this time. Are there any board members that I missed? All right, seeing none. Since technically, now correct me, Lori, do we open the microphone up to public comment as our normal monthly meetings? I want to abide by our protocol. No? All right, then we'll move right into the presentations. So without further ado, I'd like to open the microphone up here to President and CEO of SlowCal, Chuck Davison.
Well, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be out in Morro Bay this morning with all of you, and just want to spend a few minutes kind of walking you through some of our results over the last year and some of the focus that we have coming into this year. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right into this. As many of you know, the Tourism Marketing District was passed and implemented back in July of 2015. So we're at about 22 or so months of implementation right now. Two main focuses for the district: one, to increase awareness of the county, and two, to generate demand for the destination. So that's how we measure ourselves: awareness in understanding of people for San Luis Obispo County as a market, as a tourism destination market, and then demand for people who want to come here. We constantly have a conversation in our office and with our board of we can't do a lot. We talk a lot about in meetings like this of heads and beds. We can't actually control heads and beds at the end of the day because we don't own brick and mortar. It's the hotels in this room who can control whether or not they accept a reservation, charge a certain rate, allow somebody into the market. What we can do is we can generate demand. We can create a demand for people who want to come to this market and stay here and travel here. And so that's the focus that we have as the countywide organization. I want to talk to you. Many of you probably know, or if you didn't, when Aaron made the introduction, we were formerly known as Visit San Luis Obispo Obispo County. Previous to that, we were the San Luis Obispo County Visitors and Conference Bureau. Previous to that, I don't know. But we had some name changes. We just went through a rebrand, as many of you know. Our organization's now called Visit SlowCal, with SlowCal as the brand. We launched a new brand campaign in January, and I'm going to show you a little bit of that in a second. We currently have media running in San Diego, Los Angeles, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and Seattle. And as I'll talk about in a few minutes, soon to launch in Denver, Colorado. All of our brand information and our target audiences were defined by the research that we did about a year and a half ago with an organization called Merrill. And we rolled that research out at our tourism exchange about a year ago, and Morro Bay actually participated in a co-op on that research as well, and got some very valuable information on the consumer that's coming here, not only from an awareness standpoint in Morro Bay, but a consumer profile standpoint and a share of wallet understanding what consumers were spending in your market versus what they were spending in the county at large or on their annual travel at large. In the form of our brand development, we also conducted some additional research on both the brand and the positioning, and we looked at that both from a California standpoint and a U.S.-wide standpoint. Brand development's a tough space to operate in. As you change the brand, there's people that love it and there's people that don't. What I continue to try to remind people about here is it's not so much what we think of the brand, it's what the consumer thinks of the brand. So we are not trying to attract anybody in this room, believe it or not, to come to San Luis Obispo County. By default, you're already here. So we are not the audience that this brand is meant to speak to. The audience it's meant to speak to is the people outside of this county. So the new brand development created SlowCal, San Luis Obispo County, California. We shifted our brand also to calling out specifically California in my national travels and my international travels in promoting the destination. We quickly found out that people had no idea where San Luis Obispo County was, not only in the state of California, but what state it was in. So we made a very clear call out in our new brand to call out the state of California. In 2 weeks, I'm headed over to the UK for our sales and media mission with Black Diamond, our representation over there. And we want to make sure that as we talk to the travel trade, as we talk to the press, as we talk to travel agents, that they understand that San Luis Obispo County is in California. So there was a major shift in our branding to that. We created our new brand anthem, which is Life's Too Beautiful to Rush. So really speaking to what all of us are about here in San Luis Obispo County, of slowing down the pace from these major metropolitan areas that we speak to, and helping them understand that you can really kind of soak it all in here in SlowCal. So I won't read this, but this is kind of our brand anthem of speaking to slowing down the pace and how you experience everything that happens here in San Luis Obispo County, moving away from the chaos that occurs in these kind of major markets and the fast clip at which the pace operates there, and really being able to enjoy the moment with your significant other, with your family, with your best friends, with whoever that person is that you're traveling with, and really being able to see that life can truly operate at a different speed when you enter San Luis Obispo County. This is an array of some of the digital banners and space that we're currently operating in our $1 million advertising campaign that started back in January and will run through May. And so now I'm going to take a minute. This is a minute and 45 second brand video, and I just want to take a second and show this to you if you haven't already seen it. Oh, maybe not that way.
To fast. But slow is good for the soul. Slow will set you free. While the rest of the world is busy racing to the end, slow gives your life the attention it deserves. Away from the noise, chaos of crowded streets, slow shines a golden light on the world. In this place, slow is not falling behind. It's the freedom to catch up with the things that matter most to you. Fast. Can. Wait. Inhale. Exhale. Welcome to the California Less Traveled. Let us show you the world you've been too busy to see. Soon enough, you'll discover the slow cow is just your speed.
So if you haven't had the opportunity to see that, I hope you enjoy it. I really love that video. I think it speaks to who we are as a destination. It's really been the first time in the history of our county that we've been able to put together that type of an asset production. That video has become so popular that Visit California, our statewide tourism organization, has it on their website. They do not typically promote DMO videos and things like that on their site, but when you get to San Luis Obispo County, that is the feature on their site. And I think it speaks a lot to the agency that did the work, BCF, our creative agency, and I think it speaks to just the difference. We really tried to accomplish in our new brand, setting ourselves apart from other destinations. If you look at the advertising up and down the state of California on the coastal area from San Diego all the way to the north, it has all started to blend together over the last couple of years, and we really tried to establish something that distinguished us. You saw we ended with the most iconic shot in our county and arguably in the state of California, The Rock. As all of you who know me know, I'm a huge fan of Morro Bay and The Rock, and I tell people all the time, we only have one rock, right? There's only one. So we promote the heck out of that thing. So I'm going to move on. Last year we completed a strategic planning process. When the district was approved, we went through a 3-year strategic planning process that got approved by the board, and then that rolled into our operational plan development. And so some of the key priorities that came out of that, I'm not going to focus on all of these, but really looking at long-term tourism infrastructure master planning. And when we say tourism infrastructure, we're not talking about roads and bridges. We're talking about how we connect the dots from a tourism standpoint. So one basic example, we held a China readiness seminar late last year where we were talking to our constituency about how to work with the Chinese market as they come into San Luis Obispo County. One of the things in the research and development on that is, believe it or not, it's extremely difficult for the Chinese when they come to our market to be able to take cash out of an ATM. Their credit card system does not use the STAR system, the system that we're also familiar with. They operate on a different system. And so their ability to tap into money when they come into our market, which you might agree is pretty important, right? We'd like for them to have dollars to spend and leave behind, is hard. And so when we talk about tourism infrastructure, it's things like that, making sure that the measures are in place so that when people come here, they can do the things that they want to do, which obviously benefit and reward all of us. Air service development, obviously a big piece. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. We just concluded a countywide conference center feasibility study. So these were some of the big items that were on our plate from an operational standpoint that we continue to work on and execute over the years ahead. So air service development, as I think many of you know, we took a leadership role about 1.5 years ago based on the direction of our board. In air service development, you may or may not know that there was no new air service into the market for 10 years. The last new flight previously was Delta's flight to Salt Lake City. It lasted for 6 months before it was canceled. So when our board made the decision that we were going to play a major role in this, we started working very closely with the EVC and the airport. EVC obviously excuse me, delivers the business aspect, the day-to-day business function in our market. The airport, we have to have that to land the plane. And our role is really to be at the negotiating table to put the dollars behind air service development in these freedom markets. And so working closely with those air services, this is part of our strategic plan, strategic imperative number 4, enable access to SLO County via increased transportation options and specifically focused on increasing air service development. So you'll notice that everything we do ties back to our strategic plan. If it's not part of, if it doesn't line up with our strategic plan, we don't do it. And so you'll see kind of a theme as we go through some of these items. So many of you know that starting actually 1 week from today, this time next week, we'll be standing at the airport doing a ribbon cutting ceremony for a flight that is about to land for the very first time from Seattle, Washington on Alaska Airlines. So that new nonstop service starts next week, daily flight service, a morning flight into San Luis Obispo County from Seattle, and just after 12 o'clock flight back out to Seattle. We're investing a little over $300,000 into that market right now in advertising and campaign distribution to fill that flight. We get a weekly pace report from Alaska Airlines on the pickup on those flights, and we're seeing about a 20% pickup week over week every week. So the advertising that we've got in that market is definitely working. There's a lot of excitement. We're monitoring it both ways, but obviously our concern is people coming from Seattle to here. The airport's carrying the weight for getting all of you to travel and fly, and I know many of you are planning to be using that service soon. We also, another big kudos for us on Alaska was we secured the Wines Fly Free program. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this. Alaska has never launched air service with this program in existence. It's always come years after the flight has proven itself that they've given it to the market. Wines Fly Free allows a consumer traveling from San Luis Obispo to Seattle to take a case of wine on the plane without paying a baggage fee. So this is a big kudos for our market. It's a huge win for our wineries and also for our lodging constituents and restaurants. I mean, it just again speaks to why people should come here and their ability to take home a little piece of SoCal with them. So we're very excited about that. We also are in the process of rolling out a co-op that's just under final production right now. So we've got an 8-page spread that's in the Alaska Airlines magazine that's coming out in May. Many of you may have seen the 10-page spread that we did in America Way magazine about a year ago now. I think it was May last year. So this is a similar function. We've got a couple pages on San Luis Obispo County as a whole. We'll kind of tie the whole message together on the county, and then you can see each of the markets, individual communities participating with Morro Bay in there as well. So we're excited about that. It's a great opportunity for us to reach out to those consumers traveling. One thing you may not know about Alaska Airlines is 50% of the seats that Alaska delivers on a daily basis come from our feeder markets. So although we're focused on Seattle, they have flights leaving Los Angeles, San Francisco, Las Vegas, and Phoenix on a daily basis, and those are also markets, obviously, that we're advertising in. So somebody sitting on a plane reading about San Luis Obispo County, although they may not use Alaska Airlines to access our market, speaking to them for another destination standpoint is important. So moving on to United Airlines, December 2nd, we had a headquarters meeting with United Airlines in Chicago. We were extremely confident coming out of that meeting that we were going to be able to develop some new air service. They quickly announced an additional daily flight to San Francisco. I think with all the other air service stuff that's happened, this flight has kind of gone unrecognized. This gave us 4 flights daily to San Francisco. This is a big win for us. This is a late night service delivery into the market, which for those people traveling eastbound and trying to access the market was a really big win for us, not getting stuck having to overnight somewhere. So that started back on March 9th. And as you also likely know, I had said before when we got the Alaska flight that we hadn't had more exciting news on air service development and tourism in general in a long, long time, maybe since the passage of the Tourism Marketing District. I'm now going to change that and say now that we have Denver, it's even more exciting. The fact that we can get eastbound is a huge win for our market. It opens up a whole avenue that we didn't have access to before. And selfishly, for those of us that are on planes twice a month, it makes our life much, much easier. It turns a 13-hour commute to the East Coast into about a 7-hour commute. So we're very excited about that. We're activating that market starting next week. About $250,000 will get injected into that market this fiscal year. So between now and June, that will obviously continue into July and August as we get that flight active with a June date. And so we're really excited about that flight as well. So we've got that new route. We're not only targeting the Denver area, but the surrounding areas around it. So we'll go as far as Colorado Springs. That's an hour-and-a-half drive, easy access point for those individuals. And so that's with that area kind of being the 19th largest metro area in the U.S., it's a big mix for us. Next steps, so we're continuing to work on a Dallas flight. That's the next big push that we have with American Airlines, is to try to see how much farther east we can get. And Dallas opens up a whole nother world with South America, Mexico, direct flights coming out of there. So that's likely going to need to happen through what's called an MRG, or a minimum revenue guarantee, which is funds set aside to help guarantee that if that flight doesn't fill, the airlines have a draw to come against. Our board has already pledged a minimum of $100,000 towards that, what's likely $1 million guarantee. So the rest of those funds are going to need to come from the business community and local municipalities and tourism organizations like yours. More to come on that. Obviously, the big elephant in the room, Highway 1 closure. So I want to spend a few minutes on this. Obviously, everybody, I'm sure, is up to speed on what's happened up there and the bridge. And it's not. I want to make sure that we understand it's not only an issue of the bridge. Up until about 3 weeks ago, between Ragged Point and Carmel, there were 25 slides, active slides, that had the road closed as well. So the bridge is definitely the overwhelming issue, but even if the bridge hadn't been an issue, many of you know that before the bridge closure, Highway 1 hadn't been open from here to Monterey for about the last 60 days. It's been closed for a long time. So we have seen, as many of you have in the room, cancellations. This is a specific cancellation from Morro Bay, where a consumer coming from Spain said, hey, I heard Highway 1's closed, and now I want to cancel my reservation. And so we're constantly messaging and helping message the consumer on Highway 1 is open and active in our county. So the tourism areas in our county, the majority of them, at least the accessible ones, Highway 1 is completely open. And we've done a lot of work in creating rerouting messages and different things, again, tied to our strategic imperative of developing and executing a local communication strategy. We've put together a whole host of materials. We've had people out. For those of you that had hotels, you've probably had a visit from Pam Roberts or Michael Womble on our team, who's delivered out materials to you, laminated materials that your front desk can use in executing and talking to the consumer. We've delivered those to chambers and tourism groups, everywhere from Ragged Point all the way down to Napomo on Highway 1. And then we've distributed that information as well to all of the chambers and DMO tourism organizations all the way as far south as Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Tourism Office, and as far north as Napa. And so we're communicating not only in our Central Coast market, but outside of that. In addition, we're working with Visit California on the messaging that happens in their 13 international offices. And as I said earlier, we'll be in the United Kingdom, Ireland, and the United Kingdom in 2 weeks for our sales and PR mission. It's a great opportunity for us to reinforce that message over there. For those of you that deal with international travel and tour operators, you know that they're right now planning their itineraries for next fiscal year. And it's really important to us that they don't carve us out because of the misnomer or perception in their mind that Highway 1's closed and the county's not accessible. So we continue to message that reroute, all the things there are to do along that reroute and reasons to take it coming north to south or coming south to north. So we've had some great responses to that, and some people who, some hoteliers and lodging constituents and members who have reached out and really thanked us for the effort that we've taken of jumping in on that really quickly. And so it continues to be a major priority for us as an organization. From an international perspective, I spoke about China a few minutes ago, but we brought the Global Ready China seminar to San Luis Obispo County back in December. First time that that's ever been held here. In the previous years, it's been held in Monterey and Santa Barbara, and we would really petition Visit California to bring that here, because knowing that 70% of our properties in the market are independent and many of those are mom and pop operators, they don't have the ability to shut down their business and drive to Santa Barbara for a day to hear a seminar. And so Visit California kind of heard that call. We had that seminar here and got a great response, about 150 people in attendance for that. We also last year did 2 sales missions to China China. I did a CEO mission to China with Carolyn Batetta, the CEO of Visit California, and 13 other CEOs, DMO leaders around the state, where we met with the top 20 travel companies in China, the CEOs of all those companies in roundtable format, and talked to them about the destination. And along with that, our Director of Sales, Michael Wambolt, was in China last year for the travel trade mission over there, and he actually leaves tomorrow, tonight at midnight, for this year's travel trade seminar and meeting in China next week with Visit California. For the first time ever, we have contracted representation in international markets, and so earlier this year, actually late last year, last calendar year, we contracted Black Diamond. They also do the contract work for Visit California, so there's a lot of synergy between the work they're doing over there for VCA and the work that they're doing for us. So this gives us on-the-ground representation in Ireland and the UK to talk to both media and travel trade on why San Luis Obispo County is a destination that they should consider. As you know, the UK is one of our biggest markets, even with the fluctuation in the dollar to the pound and all of the misnomer about what Brexit's going to lead to. That continues to be an extremely strong market for us, so we continue to place great effort and awareness there. Again, we'll be over there in 2 weeks reinforcing that message. And then Mexico, Canada, in about a month and a half, I'm headed to Mexico and Canada on a CEO mission with Visit California. There's, again, 10 of us traveling to Mexico City, and this issue was just announced last week, but it's really built around what many are calling the Trump effect. And so regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, there is definitely some raised concern about whether or not the international markets will continue to access the United States, and specifically for us, you know, both sides of a landlocked country, and their access into California and then into San Luis Obispo County. So these messages in tourism are all meant to be we're open for business, we're welcoming to everybody. You may have seen the city of San Luis Obispo's petition yesterday. I think it was in the paper on they've created themselves as a welcome city, not a sanctuary city, but a welcome city, where they're saying that they're open for anybody to visit. And so these missions are meant to remind those international destinations that we're definitely interested in them traveling here, those who are appropriate and safe and can meet the security guidelines and all those things that should go unsaid in all of our business, but making sure that they're aware of that. Also, Michael Wambolt, our Director of Travel Trade, was on the Visit California sales mission in Mexico in January, and so this just allows us to reinforce that message. Many of you may know that we were featured in Visit California's TV spot again this year for this room. Obviously, it wasn't as iconic as last year. I'll give you that, with the Bubble Smith in front of the rock and that. But I did want to take just a second and show you this 30-second clip if you haven't seen it. I want to show you, but if you haven't seen it, you can go online and, oh, here we go, maybe now. I don't know. All right, so we're going to skip that. PCs, you know. Very quickly, obviously, many of you know that you better know that the Amgen Tour of California is on its way into San Luis Obispo County. So Tuesday, May 16th is race day. Visit San Luis Obispo County is the title sponsor for the county on this $50,000 investment on our part, with $18,000 going to Pismo Beach for the start and $32,000 coming to Morro Bay for the finish. Obviously, we're really excited to have this here and excited to be able to put those sponsorship funds in place so that you can have it here in the market. We could give the funds, but without you, we wouldn't be able to have the race. So excited to be partnering again for the second year with Morro Bay on that. This brings domestic and international TV exposure, 2 hours this time with the start and the finish being here. It's amazing, amazing coverage. We, again, don't do things like this for heads and beds the day of the event. We do things like this because this gets us exposure that we could not pay to afford. If you don't know, buying a 2-hour span on NBC Sports, domestic and international, would cost you a lot more than $50,000. So we're really excited about that. Conference Center feasibility plan, really quick. We reached out and developed an RFP and did a conference center feasibility study. So when we talk about conference center space, we're talking about big space that would seat about 1,000 people. Don't want this to be confused with some of the conference centers that are being built in the county that seat, 100 or 200 people. Those are small meeting rooms by conference standards. So we're talking about, driving big conference, big being relative for our market, big conference to our space. This becomes increasingly important with the closure of Diablo, the desire to get midweek business, air service development. Every time I meet with an airline, they say, well, how are you going to get midweek business if you don't have a conference center? And we say, well, give us a flight, and then maybe we'll get a conference center. And they say, well, build a conference center, and maybe we'll give you a flight. And it's an ongoing conversation. So it's something that we took a leadership role on. Our board agreed. We did the study. We hired a company called B&D who did the Cal Poly study. That demand analysis was just provided back to us and presented to our board at last month's meeting, and we'll be rolling that out to all of the communities and the constituents in the coming weeks on what those findings were, so that the communities can determine what they think are the appropriate next steps for them. So more to come on that, and this slide just speaks to where the demand for conference space is. It is really in that Wednesday, Thursday space, right? That midweek space that we all lack occupancy in. And if you look at the pie chart, 65% of the business is in non-peak season. And so that's definitely the time and the space that we're trying to attract business to. So it's a big endeavor for us. Last but not least, I want to remind you of our annual tourism exchange. So we do this every year. This is when we kind of present the state of the state on tourism. So this is scheduled for May 11th from 11:30 to 4 with a reception to follow. We've changed the format this year, knowing that many of our partners are busy, so we have a format which is a lunch and keynote from 11:30 to 1:15. I'll give a state of the county tourism address. Visit California will also be here, giving us an update on what we're doing from a state standpoint, and then we're going to have 3 breakout sessions to follow that, which are all 45 minutes each. So you have the ability to come for the whole day, you have the ability just to come for the lunch and get kind of the highlights, and then we'll have a reception to follow at 5 to 7 p.m. at the Monday Club in San Luis Obispo. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Yes. So staying in tradition with our meeting protocols, we can open this portion up to any public comment, or in other words, does anybody have any questions for Chuck on what you've seen? If you'd like to come up to the microphone, or if you are intimidated, I get public speaking can be a challenge. We can also just repeat the question, and Chuck can get into it.
Going once.
How does the county's occupancy stack up? Is it holding steady? Morro Bay is supposedly holding steady. Increasing it? Is it holding steady?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the question is, how does the occupancy for the county stack up? And so I guess there's kind of 2 ways to look at that. You can look at it year over year, and you can look at it against your competitive set. We look at it both ways. When we look at year over year occupancy, occupancy is actually only up a couple tenths of a point on a year over year basis. But I want to make sure that I qualify this, and so please hear what I'm about to say. Inventory supply was up dramatically, about 17% on a year-over-year basis, because of all the build that took place, majority of it that took place in North County. So if you factor out that increase in supply, occupancy was up about 6 to 7% last year. So we definitely saw an increase, but with that supply, numbers ended up somewhat flat. With that said, RevPAR was also up significant last year, as was ADR. When we look at our county-wide occupancy versus our competitive set, it's pretty much flat with our competitors. And so I think that's a success story that sometimes goes unnoticed. Before the tourism marketing district occurred, we were losing on average to our competitors about 3% occupancy a year. So our occupancy looked fine, but when we looked at Santa Barbara and Monterey on a percentage basis, their occupancy was continuing to increase. Why was that? Well, they had $6 million in a marketing fund in their countywide district that we didn't have. So we were being outspent, outpositioned, out awareness driven. So now we're pulling closer into that. We're starting to flatline that. Obviously, our goal is to then turn the corner and begin to see an increase and start to steal market share. That's the focus of the district. I am a very competitive person by nature, and I say, well, I won't say because there's a camera and I'm in public. But we want to win. I tell my counterparts in Santa Barbara and Monterey all the time, we're coming for you. So we're coming for them. So the numbers continue to increase, and we're working hard to see that happen. I will say there's a caveat. We talked about it a few minutes ago with Highway 1 and what that closure means. We're definitely going to see a resetting of the market in the North Coast. It will, I think, be interesting. I don't think it's as clear how it will affect Morro Bay, but I can tell you right now it's definitely affecting San Simeon. Their numbers are off huge right now. March is a tough month to look at if you're looking at occupancy because Easter was in March last year. And so don't look at March as apples to apples if you're not managing a hotel. If you're managing a hotel, you obviously already know that. If you're not, don't just look at the numbers and say, oh my gosh, they're off. There was spring break last year in that month and it's not occurring right now. We'll catch that up in April. And now we're starting to see a break in the weather outside of the rain that we're going to see this week. That's obviously going to start to flourish. There was pent up demand, if you don't know this, for skiing over the last couple of years. We didn't have very harsh winters here. We were seeing 80-degree temperatures in January and beautiful beach days in the last couple of years, and there was no snow in the mountains. So if I was a skier and I wanted to go do something, I might as well just go to the beach because I couldn't ski. We don't have that scenario now, right? You're talking about the Sierras at 175% of inventory of what they thought snowpack was going to look like. Huge, huge numbers. Big report today in the paper on the waterfalls that are happening at Yosemite. Unnamed waterfalls that they didn't even know existed because there's so much snowpack and the water melt. So that's pretty cool stuff. We're going to lose people to skiing for another couple months. We'll pick them back up as summer comes. So it's an ebb and flow right now in occupancy. Other questions? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Thanks,
All right. Our next presenter is Jennifer Little, Director of Tourism for the City of Morro Bay, along with Mary Ann Stansfield. They'll be discussing the previous fiscal year. We're just wrapping up.
Thank you. I need to change out the PowerPoint, so give me just a second. Okay, good morning. Glad to see a full room. This is really nice of all you guys to come out and hear what we have to say, and we're really excited about some things that are happening. Chuck, thank you so much. Did he already leave? Oh, there you are. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate you coming out. I know you're very busy, so we really appreciate you taking time to come out to Morro Bay. So I'm going to go through my slides, and Mary Ann and I are going to kind of go back and forth. So first we're going to talk about the current year. Maybe. There we go. So a couple things I just wanted to mention. This has been an interesting year. I came in and transition, and marketing plan was already set, budgets were already set, and so we've kind of retooled some of the parts of the budget, but for the most part we are implementing what has been put into place with some changes that we'll talk about as we go through. And I really appreciate all of your support. So for me, getting on board with Morro Bay and all the hotels really being intimately involved with me and giving me opinions and ideas, I couldn't do it without you guys. So please don't stop calling me and giving me good and bad, even back row back there. So I really, really appreciate it. It makes my job easier, and we would not be as successful if all of you were not involved. So thank you very much. So talking about, this is where the current budget started This would have been starting in July, and so there was 3 tiers set up. The first tier was our strong purchases of media into all California, LA, Central Valley, San Francisco, San Jose, and San Diego. And then tier 2 was set up with specific buys into different areas. Budget-wise, we really did not have the money to actively go after those markets with the dollars you'd need to really penetrate. So that was retooled, and we really put that, you'll see as we go into later on in the year, Marianne will talk about, we really moved that into SoCal's responsibility of going out to those out-of-state markets and really pressing those dollars using them. And we've tried to really align what we're doing with what SoCal is doing. So we're not only using our dollars, but we're really using our dollars and county dollars to the best of our ability instead of just, trying to go after everybody a little bit. And then the third market, which is Visit San Luis, which I know you have a new logo, Chuck, but we have the old one on here, and Visit California, as well as TripAdvisor, Visit USA, and then we're also involved in the Central Coast Tourism District as well. So they really go out internationally, and they do a lot of fam tours for us that come into town, and we get a lot of international publicity for that. But that's all dollars that comes through them. That's not off of our budget. So that's the best use of our dollars for your money. So this last year we did $60,000 in total grants, and most of them have been used now. All of them did really well. The citywide yard sale, of course, everybody knows, was last week. And I really appreciate you letting us call and find out how your occupancy is going the week before. It really helps us. Marianne and I are really trying to be intimately involved with the media buy and not just putting out media and letting it run. So if we're the week out from an event and we're not full, we're pressing media, we're pressing social input, and really trying to get those rooms totally sold out before the event starts. So thank you for putting up with us, calling you guys over and over. Car show's coming up. That'll be really good. The only one out of these grants that is not going to be used is pickleball. They were trying to put together an event, and it actually is rolling into July, so that will not be in this fiscal year. And it was a small grant, but hopefully they'll be able to use a grant for this next year instead. Some other things that we did, we hosted OAC, and that ended up being about 25 California outdoor writer journalists, and they all stayed at the Inn of Morro Bay, and they spent 3 days and toured all over Morro Bay, and they did probably every activity you could think about, and they wrote and they wrote and they wrote, and they're continuing to write. So when we do our monthly update on PR, lots of times there's stories in there that they've written for us. So that's been really good use of our money. The original dollar amount, I have a typo, in the budget was $20,000, and we only ended up reusing $14,000 to host them, so that gave us additional money to put into other uses for media spend. Amgen coming up, as Chuck mentioned, we're very excited about hosting that finish. Some of the things that are different from Amgen last year was I was very involved with city manager from day one, really negotiating what's going to be the best use for hotels and how are we going to grow those hotel rooms from what we had here last year. And that was my primary focus with Mr. Buckingham. So last year, just comparing the two races, AM start last year started on a Saturday. So it was great exposure, but does not really influence retail or restaurants. I think we had about 300 rooms totally booked for the race last year. This year, the start is going to be coming in at, they told us yesterday exactly 3:40 to 3:47 is when they expect the Peloton to come in. But between 2 and 4 p.m., it should be very full in town and a lot going on. It takes place on a Tuesday, which I'm thrilled about. And to date, we have 512 rooms booked, which is about $74,000 in hotel occupancy income. And I'm expecting that to go up to about 650 is my gut on it. Now, that's just my gut input, but just looking at kind of what we're doing on a promotion side, I think we're going to get up well over 600. So some of the things that we're doing to leverage Amgen this year is, like I mentioned, when we started the contract, we really worked to negotiate that a certain amount of hotel rooms had to be occupied by staff and by teams. Last year we heard that there was not a lot of rooms filled with the Amgen staff and teams. So that was one of the things that we did a requirement on. The teams have really specific requirements as far as needs, and so we ended up putting them all at the Inn at Morro Bay. They're pretty much taking up the entire hotel. Thank you, Charlie. And so that's pretty exciting. And then We negotiated to get a bunch of swag, so the rest of the rooms that are available in town, they're going to be able to get a piece of swag when they check in, or if they're doing a 2-night stay in one of our suites, they'll be able to have passes into the VIP tent. So all of those, I think, are really going to leverage our total dollars up, and that's why I think we'll get well over 600 rooms. Isn't that pretty cool? It's like double the rooms from last year. Yeah, so that's good. So some things that were taking place in 2016 that was one of my initial things that I really looked at was the Adventure Pass. And it launched in May 2016, and it ran through September. And when I came in, I took a look at it, and they only had 100 total passes that were sold. So the challenge for me, when you look at those passes, they had to be purchased by the consumer. They were just discounted rates, and asking a consumer to put money out, it's really hard because we're such a small destination. We don't have large attractions. So like a city pass in San Francisco works great. Here, small community, it's a little bit of a struggle asking people to spend money. So instead what we did was we implemented our hotel added value passports that are doing really well. And the first one that we did was the kids passport, and it was really just a test. We did it in November, December. It was called Kids Get Free Stuff, and it was all about things for family-oriented. Free taffy, free kite at the kite shop, free, what else did it have on? I can't remember. Well, all different stuff. It was all very, very family-oriented. And we had 717 total redeemed. And for my test, I probably spent $100 on it, just so you guys know. I mean, I just totally printed them in-house. We wanted to see how they would do, and they just did really, really well. So we ran right behind that for January, February with our restaurant passports. We had 8 really good offers on that, and our redemption was good. This is January, February, so really off-season, and we had 176 passports redeemed. Interestingly enough, the low redemption were on the wine offers. I don't know why, but very few of the wine offers were redeemed, and those were 3 of our coupons, so we'll look at that when we're retooling this. And now, right now, we're in our activity passport, which is all different activities. Again, these are free to every hotel guest, so it's no cost to the hotel, no cost to the visitor, and we're handling all the printing for the people that are on the passports, either it's the restaurants or the activities. So it's really a win-win for everybody coming into town. The other thing I wanted to point out on this is my total focus is midweek and shoulder season. So all these are not going to run through summer. These are all about filling where we need to be filled. So one of the other things that I took a look at when I first got in was the database that we have for Morro Bay. It's a good database, but we also need to grow the database. So this database that we currently have, you'll see from the statistics, there's about 48% that have income under $69,000 a year. And really what we need to do is we really need to grow, again, midweek and shoulder, which means not families. It means people that can travel during the week, or they can take a week off, work. So families that are not in school. So that is really where my heart and soul is, on growing Morro Bay and how we grow it. So this Weekender program, it was a digital email blast that would go out. So some of the things that I did was, first, I removed the name Weekender. We're not promoting weekends. We're promoting midweek. That's where we really need to fill. So we took the name off and refocused it to the midweek, midweek cells. And then City Council gave us approval to buy into this database. That's 160,000 names, and they're all household incomes over 100,000. And they reach from Central Valley all the way south. So those have been out for about a month now, and they're doing really well. I don't know if you guys have seen any change here in Morro Bay. I think I have, but that's just me personally. I do see a little bit of a shift. Not only am I your tourism manager, but I'm a Morro Bay resident, and I live, eat, and breathe Morro Bay. So I'm here all the time and really seeing what's going on, and it's really interesting to see the people that change and kind of how it ebb and flows in town. So hopefully we're going to grow that market. Some of the travel trade that we've been working on, I've gone to 2 shows. I went to Go West, which was in Reno, and I had 38 meetings scheduled with different agents, mainly international agents, and it was really interesting. This was pretty close after the elections, and All of these agents were seeing international online media and all the drama that was going on in the U.S., and almost everyone told me we were waiting to come to this to see what the United States is still like. Because visually they were seeing drama and chaos and all this like stuff going on, and they wanted to come. All of their patrons wanted to wait until they could see what is really going on in the U.S. visually. So that was, I spent most of my time reassuring them, and they did a lot of fam tours afterwards with SlowCal. And so they really got to see the market areas and understand that we are still a very stable economy, and come on over, which was really good. And then I went to ABA in Cincinnati, Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio, and I had 52 scheduled meetings. A lot of them were not apropos for us. A lot of them were East Coast people that were looking to grow into West Coast, but we're not currently on West Coast. So the ones that were good, there was about 18 viable leads, and so we've been working on those as well. And then I'll be going to IPW with SlowCal and being part of their booth in June, which is really good. One of the other items that was on the old budget was consumer trade shows, and so we participated in 3 of those that were scheduled, all in the Central Valley. I would not recommend them for next year, and I'll go into that a little later, but these are consumer shows. So you basically have people walking by, so you're talking about individual people. It's not a strong pull for our dollars when you're looking at our total dollars used. So I'm going to go, hey, Taylor. That's Taylor's wife and daughter. So he hadn't seen the photo, but this is actually going to be one of our cover photos for our new visitors guide. So they were our models. So there's a one sheet in the back that probably you picked up that just goes over our current expenses and where we stand. It's pretty basic. Currently, so some expenses trickle in, so they're not completely in here, but to date we're at about a 64% use on our total budget. And the total budget for the year is $911,000 plus the additional money that council gave us for the email blast leads, as well as the summer sell, which was $24,000. So that takes us up to $944,000 for the year. So we're doing really good. Some of the things that are listed on here I just wanted to mention. There's separate line items for print ad buys, promotion media, and promotion other. So those are separate line items that were probably purchased direct through our department instead of through Mental Marketing. That's why they're a separate line item. So under the total number of promotion advertising, you've got Mental's fees in there, as well as quite a bit of ad buys. This is where Mary Ann's going to take over. I'll be back up later.
So I have a little frog in my throat, so please excuse me if I ahem through this. I apologize in advance. Hi, everyone. Starting out that way already. It's really great to be here. It's so great to see all the faces here this year at the stakeholders meeting, and looking forward to sharing with you what we've done this past year. What I wanted to kind of start with is kind of a nod to what Chuck was saying about having a county brand that has dollars behind it, millions of dollars behind it, to finally create a larger awareness about our county. The branding campaign that he showed, obviously, is beautiful. They did a really good job of rebranding, and that they don't have brick and mortars that they sell, but we do. So what we did this last year is really focus in with at Jen's guidance, is really focus in on strong calls to action, really getting people to convert, to come to Morro Bay based on the advertising that we're doing. This campaign we did was the first one with Jen on board. July through September was the wine month promotion, book 2 nights. Get a free bottle of wine. So we wanted to make it about what's going on, about what the topic is. Also, following the lead from SlowCal, they're promoting slow wine as well. So we have this multi-layered effect of marketing, and we did really well with that. This also is a departure from last year, where I think that there was a little more softer calls to action, a little more branding involved with the promotions that were being done. As well, we did more promotions over a 2 to 3 month period, so that we were changing the messaging and really getting out there in the markets that Jen had described. September, October, we did a call to action, win a $1,000 getaway during our Maritime Month. Pack your bags, it's Anchors Away in Morro Bay. The October through December promotion, Jen mentioned, this was when we kind of came up with the idea of kids get free stuff. And November, December, it's holidays, kids are off generally around the holidays, but we're also going after a new trend that's coming out. As we all know, the homeschool market is rapidly growing. Also in the areas where we're targeting, in Southern California and Northern California, these are larger school districts, and a lot of these school districts have year-round school. So they're going 45 days to school, they have 15 days off, and it changes throughout the year. So we're really kind of going after that, that trend that families and kids can travel more throughout the year. It's not just the traditional summertime. And so that was part of our strategy behind this, kids get free stuff. And the key component was stay in Morro Bay. And as Jen said, all hotels had those passports, and everyone staying in Morro Bay had access to that free stuff for the kids. And it did really well. Winters for the birds, stay 2 nights in January, February, get third night half off. Again, another call to action, talking about brick and mortar, talking about heads and beds. This is not a brand ad. We're not just saying, discover Morro Bay and, a pretty picture. We're actually giving them a call to action where we want them to react. We want them to convert. We want them to click. We want them to book. Excuse me. And then, of course, Winters for the Birds, playing on the bird, the bird festival, all the wildlife that we have here, the rookery, so much going on here in Morro Bay in the winter. February through April, take a deep breath, stay in Morro Bay, and get the free activity passport. Really working on focusing on students and families, spring break, getting people excited about coming to Morro Bay, being outdoors. We have a lot of the vendors that participated in this passport were activity water activity vendors. So we had Red Anchor Charters on board doing a discount on their sailing tours, kayak discounts, paddleboard discounts, just really great offers that speak to people that are active and families that want to get out and get their kids out. And currently we're working on, this will launch digitally on May 1st, but we're getting all the assets together to send out to the hotels. The hoteliers, you'll be getting all of the assets here in this next week, and the link to the promotional page. Why wait for the weekend? It's all happening midweek. Let's get people out there and thinking that you don't only, it's not just about the weekend. Everything that's happening on the weekend is happening midweek, going to Jen's goal and our goal of really growing that business. Again, hitting those families that can travel more midweek, making people realize the value that they can find traveling midweek and growing those numbers. So that was our campaign approach, and these are the results combined here, kind of talking about our success criteria, our success metrics. Wanted to share some stuff with you digitally and web analytics year over year. To date, we had paid digital impressions of over 20 million with the budget that we've been working with. Clicks to morrobay.org from the campaigns alone, 68,000. Our click-through rate is 0.34, and the industry average is 0.1. So we've had some really great success in reaching the market and getting them to convert, getting them to click, getting them to interact with our campaigns. Website unique visitors, we're up 32% year over year at 182,000 year to date. Jackrabbit searches, we've increased the Jackrabbit searches, which is our booking engine on the site, that represents all of the hotels. And when you click on one of the hotels, it goes to a branded page. It looks, it's seamless. We've been really pushing our booking engine, and again, it's up 119%. We had 30,000 searches for bookings to date. There's another aspect of Jackrabbit where there's actual referrals to websites and phone numbers and individual pieces of information per hotel. Those referrals are up as well, 31% at 17,000. Our Facebook ad campaigns impressions, we have over 2 million Facebook ad campaign impressions. So that's when we're actually spending dollars, putting ads together. That's part of the support of the digital campaigns and the PR that we do promoting all those campaigns. Again, excuse me. And the clicks from those campaigns, 36,000 clicks from our Facebook promotions to date. Click-through rate on that, 1.68, and the industry average for travel on social media is 0.9, so we're up pretty high on that too. So we're really happy with these numbers. And then paid print impressions that we've done to date, 2.6 million. And really, those are really hard to show ROI and conversion, but I just want to share those numbers with you. Those are annual Visitor's Guide, SLO Annual Visitor's Guide, Visit California Annual Visitor's Guide, and co-op opportunities that we've done with the Central Coast Tourism Council. And I wanted to just kind of show you a little bit. This is a screenshot of the booking engine that we have on every page on the website. That yellow bar that goes across there. How big is it? Can you really see it? Has all lodging. I mean, it's a booking engine. You guys get that. But that's on every page of the morrowbay.org website. And then it takes you to this branded Morro Bay page where you have listings of the hotels. And within each listing has phone number, all of the website, all of the information per hotel. And so I just kind of wanted to show you this. We had a request from the TBID board to kind of show maybe a little bit deeper on how the referrals are captured. So the searches are understandable, but the referrals are, as you can see, each one of the listings has a phone number, a website, different ways you can engage with that property. And if you click on the property itself, it has a write-up of the property on the booking engine, and again, several other ways to get referrals to that site. So when we calculate those referrals out, that's where that information comes from, and I know Jen provides that to all the hoteliers each month. So I just wanted to kind of show you where those are coming from and being calculated from. Booking metrics. My eyes are not reading all the way down there, so I'm going to have to turn around and look at this chart a little bit. Discover Morro Bay 2016. So we get these numbers. One of our digital ad networks we work with is Adara, and it's a travel ad network that we spend marketing dollars with. And so they have partnerships with airports and flags, a lot of big property, Best Western, Comfort Inn, that kind of thing. So we track, they track our ads and then calculate out all the information. And these are the statistics and analytics that they get back to us. And one of the great things that we get is, in this top chart here on the left is our look to book date, basically, look to book ratio. For flights in Morro Bay, for flights to our regional airport, basically look to book is about 16 days. Excuse me. The advanced purchase is 37 days, and basically from search date to departure to fly into SBP is about 54 days. But when they're just driving, when they're booking their hotel, coming here, not using airport, our look to book is about 36 days. So about 6 weeks. 5 to 6 weeks from look to book. So that's our booking window. And so we take that into consideration when we're putting these campaigns together. We want to get out ahead of the 6-week marker, make sure you guys have all the tools for the upcoming campaign, and then our campaigns run about that, and we know that people are booking that far in advance. So that's great information to have. Discover Morro Bay on this right-hand list here is really where we're getting our market share with this digital ad network, and you can see LA is leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the destinations. And the bottom chart shows our revenue generated from the ads placed with Adora. And we have a lot of locally owned and privately owned hotel properties in Morro Bay, but we do track about 4 or 5 hotels, probably 4 hotels through the flags and through the partnerships with Adora. So if you look at that number of revenue at the bottom, cum revenue, almost $15,000. If you add another 0 on that, because we're basically tracking about 10% of the hotel revenue in town, so if you add another 0 on that, that's a projected number that we can anticipate is being generated, revenue that's being generated from these ads. Public relations. One of my favorite things to do. We've had some really great press for you guys over this last year. We actually were just in the LA Times travel section in the print edition last Sunday. They did a nice roundup of the Central Coast, and Morro Bay had recently hosted Barbara Beckley, and she was the journalist on the article. So we were included in that article. Really nicely done. So public relations results in this past fiscal. Earned media impression, 1.69 billion media impressions, estimated coverage views. What that is basically we use algorithm from some software that we have a proprietary account with, and from the 1.69 billion impressions. So basically what that is all the visitors that visit a website, of that, or all of the people that read a magazine or a newspaper, they calculate out using an algorithm of how many people actually they think saw your coverage. And so from the 1.69 billion, we estimate that 7.4 million people saw all of this featured coverage, this third-hand endorsement about Morro Bay. We've definitely seen over the past 3 to 4 years an increase in media recognition of Morro Bay, media knowledge of Morro Bay. So we know that our outreach is working. We have increased requests for visiting Morro Bay, and now coupled with, of course, Visits Locale having that budget, they're really helping generate that awareness as well. And then at our level saying, okay, we're in SLO County, here we are, we're Morro Bay, right on the coast in SLO County, working hand in hand with their media. The social media shares, so I like to kind of call this like syndicated feature stories, where we have stories that are out there, if they're in the LA Times or wherever they are, and they get shared on Facebook, they get shared on Twitter, they get shared throughout the social media world. It's kind of like Oprah being syndicated. She does one story, she does one show, and then they show it all over the nation, right? Well, this is one. So out of all our articles, they were shared on social media 32,000 times. So not just the people that are seeing it, but they're sharing it with all of their friends, and then their friends are sharing it with their friends. So it's really a great way to get exponential awareness and readership on those articles. Ad value is 9.5 million, and publicity value of that is 28.5 million. And if you're not familiar with that, publicity value is, the ad value is calculated out. If we got a feature article, what would it have cost us to purchase that ad space, whether it was online or whether in a magazine? And that's how you come up with the ad value. The publicity value is triple that. And basically they're saying this is a third-party endorsement. So while we calculate out what the ad value would have been, it actually is 3 times more valuable because it's not us touting our own wares. It's actually someone else touting it for us. And so it's more credible on some level. And so that's how we calculate out the publicity value, as being 3 times the ad value. Organic web crawler hits that we've been able to establish to help grow SEO on the site, 60,000, media views, almost 5,000, and visiting journalists, 21 to date. So those are our metrics that we use, that we share with the board, that we to calculate ROI on PR. Organic social media results, we're up to over 50,000 Facebook likes. That's up 34% year over, or since July 1. We're really cranking on social media. Instagram has also grown 40%, and Twitter has grown 11% just since July 1. So we're really, really kicking it out there. Looking ahead, how are we doing on time? Looking ahead, basically, these are our goals. I just want to kind of mention briefly. Wanting to grow ADR, wanting to grow occupancy, really focusing on growing our, room nights. Morro Bay is really focused, or the Morro Bay tourism is really focused on businesses and events, really wanted to be partners in the community. Really, I think a great example of that is working with the passport, developing the passports and working with businesses to show that, we get how we all kind of work together. We're all tourism partners in this tourism destination. And then city focused in really helping drive and impact business sales tax. So I wanted to talk real quickly about our targeted approach for this coming year. And there's 3 key factors into what Jen kind of alluded to earlier, is us changing our tiers and our focus to Southern California. And there's 3 key market factors because that led us to do this. One is how do we best leverage the marketing dollar so we know it's penetrating the market, where we're not spreading small amounts over multiple places, but we're really kind of focusing in on a good number of a good budget number in a concentrated area. And number 2 was really to help mitigate what we're anticipating as business loss from the Highway 1 closure of the international business, international tourism. And then the third key market factor Chuck mentioned is we really analyzed that research that was commissioned through Visit SoCal, as well as database numbers, and came up with the idea that we really need to focus on Southern California. We are going to still work, target the Valley, because that is an area where SoCal has decided it's not a market that's really where they want to grow. So we need to focus on still that core market that is Morro Bay, that comes to Morro Bay and comes to the Central Coast, and so we will still be leaving dollars there. And then we want to, another tactic that we're going to be doing is leveraging, of course, all the co-op advertising opportunities from SoCal and Central Coast Tourism Council, as we mentioned earlier. Jen mentioned we had an additional buy of $42,000 that will be applied May through June to the southern market. A lot of these tactics we're actually implementing now based on the closure having happened in the past 2 months. So we've made those changes, and we're really kind of nimble in making that happen quickly. The database, we're growing the database. We will still be engaging San Jose and the Peninsula through social media and public relations. So we realize that that is still a market, a viable market, but as far as our digital ad buying dollars, we are going to focus those in Southern California. And we're going to continue to use PR to get messaging out. We're open for business. We're near Hearst Castle. And then, of course, international trade shows. Jen's going to touch on that and how we're going to help get the word out through to the international buyer as well. This is just a screenshot of SoCal, the Highway 1 closure information. Chuck was saying they went out and they distributed a bunch of materials. I just want to point out that there is information on their website that you can download and print out those materials again if you need additional. It's a really nice site that really has great links to resources for updated information. So these are, and just to kind of wrap up here on my presentation, the target audiences we're going after that we're in Southern California, and we're expanding the Southern California market. The LA County Basin, San Bernardino County, Santa Barbara, and Ventura kind of come up the coast a little bit. We know that's a big market for us. Orange County and Riverside County. So those dollars are going to be focused in that area. San Jose and Peninsula, San Jose County, San Mateo, and Santa Clara County, those are going to be social media dollars. And then, of course, the Central Valley, those are our Tier 1 markets. PR and co-op media, again, Denver will be adding to this list. And these are opportunities we're going to take advantage of through SoCal and those co-op marketing opportunities, for example, like Alaska Airlines. And then our international markets, again, on a public relations level, we definitely interact with third-party influencers and social media influencers to get the word out internationally through Visit California and our county partners and our regional partners. So thank you guys so much. Does anybody have any questions for me before I pass the mic over to Jen? All right. Well, we're always here if something comes up later, so thank you.
caught Marianne's frog, so we'll see how I do. Hopefully I don't, if I fall over, somebody give me CPR, okay? So, I'm really excited to talk to you about this next year. It's coming up pretty quickly, and so I'm going to go through some of the different stuff that we're working on. So I put this together, and I just was looking at where we stand so far to date as far as ADR, RevPAR, occupancy, and how that really lays out. And I was trying to assess, are there really specific months that we need to really focus on growing? And personally, I think we need to grow them all. You know, I mean, they all really, really need help. So what we did was we put together a subcommittee that was had hoteliers in it. Val was on it, Jane was on it, both the Solus on it, Jim Bray, and then we also had some outside groups. We had John Flaherty from an aspect of doing an activity, Travis Ford, who does our social media, Erica was there from Chamber. So we had a really nice subcommittee, and we started working on how do we grow forward with what we already have, but how do we fill in, and where do we grow financially that we can afford to do? And so that was really our goal as the group, and we met several times, and it was a really good group. I was very happy. Marianne was there, and her and I led the group, and it came out really well. So I'm going to go through some of the stuff that we kind of have on our list for a hit list. So this next year, some of our strategies are, first of all, we've been talking from a board standpoint of including vacation rentals and RVs. That is still a hot topic, and I believe it's probably going to come back into the board for discussion in the next couple months. Growing events, growing current events, new events. How do we grow that financially, and what can we afford? Fall concert series, which I'm really excited about, and seeing how we can get that going. Our added value programs that we're doing seem to be doing really well. You know, not costing the hotels and not costing the visitors really is working well for us. And then also really getting involved with the Parks Department from the city, and how do we marriage that relationship instead of working independently. And so Kurt Carmichael was also in our groups, and he was a really good added value for us as well. So I sent out a survey to all the hotels, and I just want to show you the response that I got. This was about, should we include RVs and vacation rentals into the bid? And as you can see, the really big green bars, everybody said yes. So everybody feels very strongly that we need to do this, and so I'm sure that they'll be working on seeing how we can put that together. One of the things that's coming into my board this month actually, is the option of possibly doing an RFP for an event planner. This would not be a employment position. This would be just coming on board for a single event. It could possibly be an existing event that needs help or wants help to grow, or it could be a new event that we're looking at bringing in. So we're going to look at doing some RFPs and see if we can figure out how to put that into our budget for next year. With our limited staff, my staff's in the back there, I mean, we really can't do event planning ourselves. I mean, we would lose our focus from hotels if we started doing event planning. And so this is a way to, how do we grow events and not bring on another employee full-time? So this is some of the things that I'm looking at. And one of the things that I would want this person to do is to bring in a large sponsor anchor, whether it's like a MindBody, PG&E, a really good anchor to financially push forward some of these events that we're looking at. We've also signed an SEO contract for doing our search engine optimization, and that's going really well. It's Rick from Pacific Leisure, so he does a lot of the DMOs here locally, and he actually did Morro Bay for a long time as well, so he knows our city very well, and I expect to have some good measurable results coming up very soon. I'll actually have him at this next TBID, and in May they'll be very strong as well. So for travel trade for this next year, I still totally believe strongly we should go back to Go West. It was really a strong event for us, and IPW for sure. I would say go ABA every other year because it's so light on total amount of possible groups that you can get. I think we'd be better off just going every other year and just reaching out to them throughout the year. And then the dollars that were used this last year for consumer trade shows, it was about $5,000. I would just not use those, and I'd put them towards more digital media buy. So opportunities in development. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the concert series in October. It'd be mid-September through mid-October on Saturdays. And we've been working with Scott from Slow Jazz to bring this in on 4 Saturdays in a row. Skipping the Harbor Festival weekend would be the only Saturday that he would skip. And the intention is to grow this on a 5-year basis to become a much larger concert, but start small where it doesn't financially cost us a huge amount of money. So what we're doing is we're putting it at, what we're proposing, I should say, is to put it at the parking lot at Giovanni's. It's all fenced, so it gives Scott the opportunity to bring in a good stage and concert, and he has a gate. So he doesn't have to pay for fencing, so it helps him on a cost-wise. Slow Jazz would get the ticket sales. And then Giovanni has offered his area for free, and the trade is that he would get the food and the beverage sales. So it's a really nice trade from a tourism side. It's not, hampering our staff to go out and manage, a 4-series concert event. And what I would like to do is really tie it in with our local other establishments to have smaller Friday concerts, so we can do like a 2-day series during those weekends. So that's one of the things. Is that kind of exciting? Isn't that kind of cool? So that'll be, Scott's going to put in a grant for those 4 different concerts. That's one of the grants that I know is coming in for sure. One of the other ones that I'm looking at is doing a 4-week fishing tournament with Verge's Landing. And you know what fishermen do? They eat, sleep, drink, fish. Eat, sleep, drink, fish. That's all they do, and they come for several days, and that's what we want, that's what we really need. So this would be October, November area, and what I'm talking with the owner about is doing like a 3-day tournament, like a Monday through Wednesday tournament, and the largest fish wins for that week. So we'd have a weekly prize that would be through a TBID grant, and then there would be a final prize for the largest fish for the overall tournament. So I expect she can hold about 100 people a day. So, not a day, a week. So if we do this for 4 to 6 weeks, it's probably between 400 and 600 total visitors, and probably wives or significant others would be here as well, shopping during the day while they're out fishing. So this is a really good thing. It doesn't impact tourism staffing, because it's going to be held from them, and it really helps their business as well, off-season. So I think this is a really good thing. This is exactly what we need to do financially to not really impact us on the financial side. Lighted Boat Parade. So this is kind of an interesting concept. I would really like to see if we could expand it to be a 2-day parade. And the only way I really see it working is if we have more boats involved and really have the ability to have enough boats for 2 days. And so I've been talking with the restaurants, the waterfront restaurants up and down the Embarcadero, and so far the response I'm getting is, yes, we would sponsor a boat. So if we can get all the large restaurants to pick up an additional boat, sponsoring a boat and lighting it, I think it has the opportunity to grow to 2 days. So my next step is to go talk with Rotary and see if I can tap dance my way through that and get them to come on board. So any support you guys want to give me on that side, I would really appreciate it, because I think it's really necessary. It's an odd time of year for us, and getting 2 days I think would be really strong instead of just a 1-day parade. If you look at most cities that do lighted boat parades during the winter, they're several days. In some cases, they're even a week long. So growing ours a little bit I think would be nice. Another opportunity in development is the idea of, the concept is Butterfly and Bubbles, and this would be with Slow Wine Alliance, and we would be doing sparkling county wines along with the Monarch Groves, and it would be hosted at the golf course. And I've spoken with the golf course. They're very excited about the opportunity to do it. They've got about a 2-acre plot that's their kind of their, the practice grounds up there that they could put a big tent on. So Joel is like really excited about the opportunity. I don't know if this will come through this year or the year after, but I think it's really a good active event to pursue. So we're working on that. This would be one of the things that an event planner would have to come on board and manage that situation. It would not be something that we could do. Soar into Morro Bay would be in April. We have a very windy month, so why not take advantage of it and make it the whole month Soar into Morro Bay. And the concept is to do basically a build your own kind of soapbox derby on the beach, and it has to be powered by wind. So that gives us the opportunity to go after like PG&E for a sponsor, somebody very large like that would benefit from a wind-driven energy event. And I think it's got legs. I think it's got really good legs, and we could run it like the week before. You like it, Chuck? It's cool, huh? I'm thinking SlowCal might even sponsor this. So I think this is one of the things that I would really like to get done for next year for sure. I think, when we were talking about events as our group, we were like, we need to go out of the box, things that aren't being done in other cities. We really need to establish ourselves separately and differently. And this is one of those things that takes advantage of our natural wind. So I think it would be a really fun thing to do.
I don't think you can take wind-powered vehicles on the beach.
What's a kite?
It's not a vehicle.
Can I get a buy for that, Mr. City Manager?
I recall there were guys that were doing that with the little three-wheelers hauling ass down the beach, and something happened and they got kicked off the beach. But this was
I think we'll work through it. Yeah,
like 20 years ago.
we're going to work through it. Morro Bay has to grow, and has to grow in our natural resources and take advantage of those. So,
Lighten up on some of this stuff. It'd be nice to be able to have a
absolutely.
sign on the beach. That would be nice.
There you go.
Or a bonfire.
So one of the last things that I wanted to talk about is I mentioned getting City Rec Department involved. They're pretty maxed out, but we have talked about the idea of can they get involved in our off season. So I'm thinking like January, February, we have the natural, the people that are here for birding. So why not put some of that through rec? It would give them some money as well, and really try to set up more, rec-led hikes and viewing of birds, and it would give us an opportunity to not impede on the bird festival and pressure them to do a longer event, but it would give us the opportunity to have bird viewing for the entire month of January. And that's what I would really like to see. So we could do, in my mind, hiking, they could do sailing, the Monarch Grove tours, the bird tours. I mean, all those could be very City Department rec-led, with tourism involved, however we can help. And then some of the self-guided things that we're working on right now that'll be up on our site actually fairly soon is more of ecotourism options, and it'll give some options on there. So lots of people, when they come into town, they want something to do for their family to kind of give back to their community. So we're going to have some of those things on there as well. So I think that's pretty exciting too. Yeah. We can do as many events, Neil, as we can afford to do. So that's the key, is figuring out what we can afford to do. So Central Coast Writers Conference, we have secured that to be in Morro Bay this next year. Last year it was sponsored by Pismo Beach, held at Cuesta College, which was a little odd because obviously Morro Bay is the closest place to Cuesta College. So this year they've agreed to bring it here. It's between 400 and 450 writers that'll be staying in our town. Weekdays, it's like a Wednesday through Saturday, which I'm thrilled about. It's in late September, and they also have a couple dinners that we'll have to host as well. So those are some pretty strong dollars. Something else that I just wanted to sidebar on is that Pismo's Pier is closed for the next summer. So I don't know that we'll see huge impact from that, but I do think we will see a little bit of impact from them being closed. So I'll take it. I like to win, just like Chuck. It's that Vegas background, I think. I don't know what else to tell you. I do not want to come in second. So we're going to continue our activity passes, as Marianne mentioned earlier. These were the two that we did this year, the Winter for the Birds, which was restaurants, and then the Activity Passport, which is currently out. And then we'll upgrade the quality of the Kids Get Free Stuff passport for this next year, and we'll keep those growing. As long as we can see response, we will definitely grow them to be a good use for the hotels. That's all I have. Did I cover everything? I'm going to let Dave, I'm going to let Dave come up and City Manager speak for a couple minutes, and then if anybody has you have a question? Yeah. Yes, sure. Question away.
Back into that slide on Central Coast, the Writers' Conference, it said 450 people will mainly be in houses in Morro Bay. Was that a typing error?
Housed.
Thank you.
Should be housed.
Just making sure.
As long as it's after vacation rentals are in the bid, I'll be okay, though. Let me just point that out.
Yard.
Tents. I see tents everywhere, yeah. Come on, Neil. I know you have another question for me. Anyone else?
Yeah, no, there was an article in the Trib a few weeks ago about a guy down in Pismo wants to bring a pro surfing contest.
I saw it.
We lost, I think we've lost the big bad and ugly. It went on for decades. I didn't see surfing on your list of outdoor activities. So I'm just wondering, is there any chance, can you talk to that guy, see if maybe he'll bring one here?
Of course, absolutely, absolutely. We're totally open to that. Just so you know, As High as I Am is in our activity pass. So he does have a free offer in there for, I think it's a discounted surfboard and wetsuit rental during our activity time right now. I'm very sorry to see Big Bad Ugly go away as well, which is one of the reasons why we started talking about an event planner needs to somehow be available to a certain level for some events. Harbor Festival is another perfect example. They could probably, when you look at all volunteer events, it's very difficult on an all volunteer event. I mean, how many years can you maintain that without burning out your volunteers? So if we can give them some support to stabilize and grow their event with an event planner, that's what our subcommittee made the decision on, that it would be a really strong thing to do from a tourism side. And I agree. I totally agree. Jill. The question was, is there a reason why we don't do fireworks? So you have to give me like the most loaded question right at the end, right? No, it's okay. It's really about the bird sanctuary and being that Morro Bay is a bird sanctuary. So that's beyond what I can really give a yes or no answer on. It's really a city decision, and the city's position is to, protect our birds and not have fireworks. Is that right? Is that a good way to put it? Okay.
Let me let's do our transition.
Yep.
So
Mr. Buckingham.
Say a few comments. That goes a little bit to one of the comments I would make, and I would suggest that, as with most things, fireworks is a question of advocacy. And the city does not have a citywide policy that is pro-fireworks, that's anti-fireworks. There's been discussion, lots of directions. Going back to event planners, so the very brief history of fireworks on the 4th of July in Morro Bay is there was a great nonprofit that was running the 4th of July for years and years and years, and they burned out. And over 2 or 3 years, nobody was willing to step into the gap. So the board was sort of for 2 or 3 years saying, we're getting tired, we're burning out, and nobody ever stepped up and took that over. And so instead of letting 4th of July die completely, the city stepped in and said, hey, we're going to, as a city, as a rec department, make a 4th of July event that's focused on the community. And so what you've seen the last 2 years is a community focused, not a visitor focused 4th of July in Tidelands Park. Harbor Festival has picked up fireworks, but there's no policy one way or the other. And I don't set policy. I'll describe the playing field as I best see it for you who are one group of advocates in the city. Does that make sense? And the city's 4th of July position is City of Morro Bay, Big C, is managing 4th of July as a community event primarily for community members, and that's where it is right now. Were there a group that wanted to advocate for a broader 4th of July visitor-focused event? That space is wide open. Have at it.
But fireworks, I mean, they have them at the harbor.
They do. I'm being very open here and very careful in saying I'm not advocating one way or the other. I'm just describing for you the state of play on that question. So right now there's a bit of an equilibrium from my perspective that there is one firework display a year. It's associated with the Harbor Festival, and that's we've been at that equilibrium for 2 years. And if somebody were to, if a group were to try to advocate for more, would that work? I don't know. But it's not going to be the city leading that effort. Big C city.
I don't understand how it worked before. This volunteer group, did they raise the funds to pay for the fireworks?
They did. Yep. It was completely okay. So, yes, ma'am.
If you go with electronic light shows that many communities are doing, does that affect the bird estuary? Is it a noise abatement or is it a lighting effect?
The problem is, I was with this for 15 years when the chamber did it, and then into Morro Bay Forest. And July 4th falls dead smack in the middle of the snowy clover nesting season.
Okay.
So it brings into play a whole bunch of stuff on the sand spit, which we could never understand because we don't do anything on that sand spit. We don't encourage anybody to go out there or anything, but they brought in all this work that had to be done, which made it a hassle, for number one. The Fish and Wildlife Service pushed them all the way. They used to be right. We always thought the best place to put them would be to draw a line straight down Morro Bay Boulevard, all the way to the sand spit, and put them right there as close to that line as you can.
And that's where they've been the last 2 years, by the way.
You can't do that with the snowy clover. That's right smack in their area. So they kept getting pushed farther and farther back to the point where now, the last year they had it, it was down there by White's Point, where the Windy Cove is, which is where the Blue Heron Rookery is, which never made any sense. So they kept getting pushed farther and farther back. People down on this end can't see it. So they complain, they don't want to donate because they can't see it anyway.
Sounds like communities doing it.
Okay, so good. So let me get, thank you, Neil. Look back a couple of notes. So actually 2 things. Snowy plover nesting season ends at the end of June, I believe. So,
September.
okay, my fault. Thank you. And so in October for Harbor Festival, the fireworks have been moved to smack dab center of the Embarcadero. Okay, back off from fireworks for a second. So speaking of fireworks, so just a couple things from the city's perspective, and again, this is from my perspective as a city manager. Again, a policy executor, not a policy maker. So the city, from my observation, and from what Jen and I work on, and Connie is all in with you and tourism marketing in Morro Bay. And I would say that we're all in demonstratively in a couple of areas. So a financial commitment, the city's general fund financial commitment to tourism marketing this coming year will likely be in the $120,000 range. That is general fund money that could be spent on something else that is going to tourism marketing and promotion. And I'll get into a little detail on this in a minute, but the 3 of the city's key objectives for this coming year have everything to do with you folks who are sitting in this room. Everything to do with essentially TOT enhancement. More on that in a second. So one of my observations, we talked to, Chuck's awesome video, The Rock. One of my observations as a tourist is that Morro Bay needs to be more than a collection of hotels with a rock. That's not a destination. We've and so while heads in beds is the purpose of the TBID, I would caution that a heads in beds message is the best approach to getting heads in beds. If all we talk about is let's get heads in beds, and we don't communicate what the destination is, then we may not get there. And I'll say that here's my personal experience is we've had the privilege to live and travel all over the world. One time in my life did we go to a hotel because it was this hotel. Did we go to a location because of a specific hotel? We went to a Austrian bio hotel that some friends told us about. My wife and I said, let's go there because they had these waterbed things next to the fireplaces and the snow, and it was all gorgeous. One time in my life. Every other time we've ever gone and spent money in a hotel and meals and all that, it has been, where do we want to go this weekend? Let's go to Rome. Which part of Rome do we want to see this time? Let's go to Trastevere. Okay, we're going to focus on that part of Rome, Trastevere. Let's find a hotel in that place. One time and every other time, rarely do people say, I want to go to the Pleasant Inn. Where is the Pleasant Inn? Oh, it's in Morro, California. They say, I want to go to California, and then Chuck makes them say, I want to go to SlowCal, and then we say, I want to go to Morro Bay, and then they look in Morro Bay and find the Pleasant Inn or 456 or whichever it is. So one of the things we're working to do here is to communicate Morro Bay as a destination, and the city can help with that. It takes all of us. There's all sorts of things going on. So the couple of areas of destination I see that we will continue working on is first our natural destination. We ought to be the place for hiking, for mountain biking, for fishing, for bird watching, for otters, for seals, all that natural environment. There's fantastic mountain biking in Montaña de Oro. Yes, my road bike is in the back of my truck, and it's been in the back of my truck all week because there's fantastic bike rides right from Morro Bay. So that's one area of it. Another area of it, and this is things that the city is helping with or can help with, is helping create destination events and activities and things to do in Morro Bay. The new aquarium. We will hopefully be seeing a $20 million new aquarium replace the existing aquarium, hopefully breaking ground in 2019. That's a huge, huge attraction, something for people to do for half a day while they're visiting Morro Bay. The Maritime Museum, we've seen over the last year and a half, 2 years, we've seen the Maritime Museum continue to develop. Now and the city helped make space there for them, right? We changed the patterns a little bit. We've got a pad for them to build on. The ship Cabrillo came for 10 days. The city was a key part of that. Amgen is going to be phenomenal 2 years in a row. These are things that the city can help facilitate, not do completely, but we want to help. Events, we just talked about events, whether it's Harbor Festival or Avo Margarita or Kite Festival, Car, all of those things are great things. The other thing that we could be doing, should be doing, are doing, and could do better is market Morro Bay as the place to, I think Joan actually coined the term at one point, the gateway to the North Coast, or somebody did, maybe it was Jamie, can't remember who, but market Morro Bay as, hey, here's the place you stay after a hot day wine tasting in Paso. Why stay in downtown Paso where it's hot and all that stuff? Come, drink wine all day, go to Hammer Sky and all those places, and then stay in Morro Bay and have a nice cool evening. Stay here and go to Hearst Castle. You could create a great 3 or 4 day package in Morro Bay, wine tasting, Hearst Castle, farmers market and Slow, Mission and those things, and then a Morro Bay day. So the theme of that is destination. One little note I have here is at some point, someday, the Morro Bay power plant is going to be redeveloped. Could be soon, might not be soon, but it's someday somebody's, and I will say there is active interest in purchase and of the Morro Bay power plant for demolition, remediation, and complete redevelopment of 107 acres. And then next door to that is the 26-acre wastewater treatment plant site at the end of Atascadero Road, which will be available for appropriate redevelopment in 4.5 years. We'll start tearing that down because that's when we'll turn the big valve to send all the stuff somewhere else. So what's that, 130 acres of bayfront, oceanfront? You all should be having a conversation and then start to advocate for what you think would be the best use of that. 130 acres is a lot of land, and there can be a lot of different things there. And one thing I would throw out, Sean and I talked about this the other day, one thing I would throw out, and I'm not positive this would work, but I think it might be really good for Morro Bay, is so 2 weekends ago, We were in Tulare for a volleyball tournament. We've been to Reno for a volleyball tournament. We've been to Vegas. We've been to San Mateo, San Jose, and we're going back to San Jose in about 3 weeks for one of our 5 children's sporting events. We seem to spend every weekend in the fall at Barney Schwartz Park in Paso Robles because there's 4 soccer fields. So what would it take for a part of that, for Morro Bay to become a regional sports destination? That is fantastic stuff for your group. It takes for a good regional volleyball tournament, it takes 8 volleyball courts indoors. For a good regional soccer tournament, it takes 4 to 6 soccer fields. If you just said there's 130 acres there, let's commit 30 of it to regional sports destination, might fit in the culture of Morro Bay very well, as those are families that come, that want to come, want to go to their events, and then they want to sleep, and they want to go out to eat, and they want to shop. The city has some, to changing gears a little bit, I got 2 more sort of subject areas. The city has some long-term, significant, very significant fiscal challenges. The bottom line is the CalPERS pension system is very, very challenged. They have been counting on an unrealistic rate of return for interest rates for their investments, which partially fund. And most of the problem isn't us employees; it's all of those who have gone before. But the reduction in the CalPERS expected rate of return is going to turn into likely a $1.3 million bill annually for the city, ramping from $120,000 next year up to $1.3 million in 7 years. That is fully 10% of our general fund. So we have a 10% increase in expenditures in the general fund growing over the next 7 years. I will note that from my perspective, most of the belt tightening has been done. And I say that for this reason. In 2013, we completed a 5-year cut of $500,000 of revenue out of the city's general fund because we quit getting revenue $500,000 a year from the power plant. So over 5 years from 2008 to 2013, we already tightened our belt. You didn't see reduction in police services, didn't see reduction in fire, didn't see reduction in recreation, didn't see many reductions of services, but we managed to cut what was essentially 10% out of the budget, $500,000. I'm sorry, 5%, $500,000 on about a $10 million budget at that time. So I would suggest that most of the belt tightening, let's do a little bit less copier paper and turn the lights off better and all of those things has been done. So the city is looking at a 10% increase in unavoidable expenditures over the next 7 years. So we're either going to cut 10% over the next 7 years, which will be services of some level and type, whether it's people, whether it's cost of labor, or whether it's actual services, or maybe a 5% cut over the next 3 years, and then a 5% or greater increase in revenues, which brings me to you. So 3 of the 5 primary objectives that the City Council has set for this year, assuming they get approved Tuesday night, but we've got a final draft. 3 of the 5 are directly related to TOT. And so just I anticipate that these will be approved on Tuesday, so I'll foreshadow them for you. If you've been following the goals process for since January, you have an idea of what they are. So one is Jen, Ikani, Dave, and you. We've set a goal for a 10% increase in shoulder season occupancy from last year to next year. So that gets all about tourism marketing, about events, but we want to increase occupancy in the shoulder and off-season, and that will be one part of the help. The second is some incentive program or programs, and specifically a TOT reinvestment incentive program is spelled out in the objective that will help encourage and facilitate the renovation of some lower-end hotel properties into higher-end hotel properties, or just simply help expand, but to help improve the TOT that's produced from properties. So that would be a TOT incentive program in which, I'm just throwing out an example here, in which somebody might say, I'm going to spend $1 million changing my 30-room hotel into a 20-room suite hotel, and it's going to increase TOT this much a year, and we don't even have the policy. We've just got, so we're going to start working on what this policy, and it'll go through the city council. That's a policy decision, but the city council is saying go work on that this year and come up with that policy. The third thing is an objective to have a 3% increase in the number of hotel rooms, likely through new hotels, through planning this year. So that would be 900 hotel rooms. That would be, somebody help me out, that would be 27 rooms. So one new 27-room hotel through planning this year. These are one-year objectives. But if we want to get where we need to get, which is a 25% increase in revenues over the next 8 years, we're going to have to do that several years also, likely. So those three things are there. Last thing I have is a couple of challenges and observations, again, coming from the executive side, not the policy side. I speak with groups like this regularly, and what in a sense, sometimes I sort of give you what I see as the lay of the land, right? So there's two issues out there right now with regard to occupancy that you may want to consider advocating on and addressing the record on. One is there is a sense amongst some that we need to get occupancy close to 100% annualized before we think about new hotel rooms. You know that's wrong. I know that's wrong. And you need to go help communicate what the fact is with that. So if you take the U.S. average occupancy chart, we're not the U.S. average, but you take it, average occupancy is 65.5%, and it's in the mid-40s in January and works up to the mid-70s in July and goes back down to the mid-40s. There is no way, there's no way anybody is ever going to get close to 100% occupancy. But you've got your work cut out for you in some areas to communicate as you can to the community that that is an unrealistic expectation. And in fact, if average occupancy is 65%, let's say Morro Bay can be better than that because we are a special location. 70% is probably the max that we would ever see across the whole city on an annualized basis. That said, let's go to a subset of that. So based on some discussion and questions, I took a look at Morro Bay occupancy in July, August, September of 2016. And I looked at it this way. What is the occupancy of the 20% of our most expensive hotel rooms against the 25% of our least expensive hotel rooms? Occupancy in July, August, September of last year for the quarter of our least expensive hotel rooms in the high season was 62%. Occupancy for the 200 or so of our most expensive hotel rooms was 90%. There is space in the market for, I'm not a marketer, I'm not a hotel developer, but I can look at some data and say that I think what that says is there's space in the market to sell some more higher end hotel rooms in our market. I'll get that one second. I got two more things. The other thing I would observe for you is that there is tension in Morro Bay in a number of areas, as there is in every lively and good community. That's not a bad thing. I'm just making observations for you, right? One of the tensions is between change and no change. And so new hotel, that's change. There's a tension there, right? There's also a tension between residents and tourists and who is Morro Bay for. Hopefully Morro Bay is for everybody, but so you're aware, but I'll communicate to you, there's a tension right there. Which weekends during the fall are for the residents? Which ones don't have events? What's the impact of that on your businesses? What's the impact of that on city revenues? And so that's a great tension to address and be aware of. The last challenge issue area that just to throw out there is it a true statement that a rising tide lifts all boats? That's a question. And in the sense of, what if this new hotel comes in? What's it going to do to my business? What's it going to do to the market? What's it going to do for the city? Those are all different questions. And I was talking to somebody in the business last week who said, from his perspective, it's a truism in the business that once you get 2 or 3 great properties together, then more come, and it turns into a destination versus one comes and it hurts everybody. So that's just another area of challenge. That's it. You had a question?
Well, I was curious. You said 65% for July, August, and September. I was just reviewing these stats. Are these from you? Because it's at least 7 or 8 points higher than that, running in that quarter.
So what I said was, when I said 65%, that is the national average for occupancy across a year. And again, that data point that I gave you was in Morro Bay in July, August, and September of last year. Our most expensive hotels, higher end, 3-star, whatever you want to call them, they had a 90% occupancy rate. And our less expensive hotels, our cheapest hotels, more affordable hotels, thank you, they had a 60% occupancy rate, or 62 during that 3-month period. So again, I'm making observations, right? And observe them for things from different angles to provide you opportunities to advocate for your businesses and for your industry.
Thank you.
Jim.
First thing I'd like to say is thank you so much, residents, because I'm one here also. And I see the different impacts that different events have. And I appreciate all the event organizers because most of them are volunteers here in this community. And what they're doing for this community is really amazing. It's a huge lift, event after event after event, year-round, whether it's 4th of July community, Bird Festival, whatever it is. Super appreciated by us in our industry. I cannot thank the residents enough. I see as a resident that I'd like to see, for me personally, I'd like to see events that don't impact the residential neighborhoods, but impact the areas that keep them down in what could be considered a tourism or an industry-related area. So if that's the golf course, yeah, that could be a tourism-related area. Is that Main Street? Yes. So that's, that as a resident, that's the kind of thing that's super appreciated. In terms of added hotel rooms, I might be in the minority in this group right here, so it doesn't even look at me while I say this. But I think Morro Bay could take 300 more hotel rooms. not in residential neighborhoods. So I don't need 300 more vacation rentals.
You said 500 when we met 3 weeks ago.
We could be 300 to 500. If it were that right and we added attractions with it, we could go to 500. But where we're at now, just adding hotel rooms over a 5-year period, we could easily do 100 to 200 over a 5-year period. And I think Charlie would benefit from that if they were done correctly. And that's a discussion for our industry. Do we want to advocate for that? Because that could give us all lift if they were done correctly and they were a draw to people. Because I think what Mr. Buckingham was trying to say with the 60% of our value hotel rooms that we, or excuse me, with our value hotel rooms, 25% of them only running at 60% during our peak season, and our 25% of our top hotel rooms running in the 90s, what does that say to us? That means that if we add, everybody wants to walk by the Ferrari and stare at the Ferrari, and circle the Ferrari, and when the Ferrari owner isn't looking, their 14-year-old son stands in front of it and says, "Mom, take my picture," right? Because I've been there. But that draw to the Ferrari, everybody wants to be part of that, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy the Ferrari. But they want to come to a place that has the Ferrari, right? So their 14-year-old son can have their picture taken in front of it. So if we draw up on what we're doing, higher occupancy, it's going to benefit all of us because it's going to create compression.
Can I just clarify? Thank you, John. Just clarify what I was not saying is that Morro Bay needs fewer affordable hotel rooms or needs no affordable hotel rooms. I don't agree with that at all either. My observation is that there is likely space in the market for a certain number of less affordable? What's the politically correct way to say this? Higher end? I don't know. You know, we've gotten in trouble for saying higher end, 4-star, whatever it is. But there's space in the market for some Ferraris or maybe some Lexuses, and not suggesting at all that we need to, get rid of Dodge Darts.
I agree with you because currently Morro Bay right now, even with our high-end hotel rooms in the summer, those high-end hotel rooms, those rates are well below San Luis Obispo's and everybody else. Our high-end hotel rooms are the affordable destination of California. We're really fortunate here for that, for our visitors.
Something to consider though is when a motel, high-end motel goes before the Coastal Commission, they're talking 25% of those rooms now have to be at a affordable.
So we've actually,
whatever that is.
great point, Neil, and we've actually talked to Coastal staff about this. Scott and I have, in the City Hall conference room in the last 3 months, had this discussion with Coastal staff, and in other places they are, one of our suggestions to Coastal staff is there's a different way to address that. You don't have to always address that by property. You could address that by destination. And right now, Morro Bay has plenty of affordable properties in our destination. And so when we had this discussion with them, they said that is something that they're actually looking at and considering. It's not at policy level yet. It's not at Coastal Commission approval level yet. But
it's going to be applied to your motel that you want to get built.
No, the point is that they are willing to consider the argument that the first new 30-room high-end hotel in Morro Bay may not necessarily need to have 7 affordable rooms because there are 600 other affordable rooms in the town.
An exception.
Yeah, they're actually looking at considering a policy that looks more holistically at the market. And I said it, I chose that word because not the city, because if you go look at LA or San Francisco, you're not going to look at the whole city. They're probably going to look at the market to make sure that there is affordable locations in every market. But Morro Bay south of 41 is probably one market, and north of 41 is another market in that, from that view, perhaps.
When we spoke to a lady at City Bank, and I might have been mistaken, but small motel at the property. And she was telling me that the requirements for a city to approve it is if there was going to be an apartment per se, it had to be 1,800 square foot unit. Being something we didn't want to do. Or if we wanted to build a motel, each room would have to be 720 square feet each, which is double what any motel does. Now, am I mistaken as far as that? 'Cause this was only like 6 months ago.
That neither of those things sound right to me. We're actively in the process of approving hotels with 250, 300 square foot hotel rooms. So happy to connect you with Scott Graham, Community Development Director, who will work, can put the right on that. So yeah, let's talk about that, because after Tuesday night, I have to go find planning approval for 27 new hotel rooms this year, so.
This switching gears.
Yeah.
But first of all, I want to wholeheartedly support what you said about when I travel, and I travel extensively, same thing. I'm not looking for a hotel, I'm going to a destination. And I attended the Roger Brooks presentation that was, I found to be phenomenal and powerful. And I understand you guys are dealing with a deficit budget and trying to balance everything, and I like what you say you laid out as your main goals. But I thought so many of the things, back to your point about we have to create a destination here, I think he was so right about having restaurants and things that stay open later, you know, making your downtown more beautiful, putting cool signs, putting lighting up, make people feel, you know, where they walk away from the experience feeling like Morro Bay is really a cool town, not just it has a great rock, big rock that's cool to look at. So I'm wondering, in any of the initiatives, is that being considered, or is that on down the road, some to the small beautification things that can happen in the city to make us look more unified and together as a city?
I'd say yes and. And so there are some things that fall squarely and only in the city's requirement. I was going to say purview, but I won't even say that. The things are the city must deliver. Having flat sidewalks generally depends on the area of town and those things, but that's a city requirement. There are other things, and so the and is, and yes, so for example, if you go down to the Rock now, instead of 8 trash cans along the overlook of the beach, there's 14 beautiful benches. I think they're beautiful. The seagulls think they're beautiful too. But there's 14 benches now overlooking the beach. So that is something that's city space, city park space, and that the city is doing to help beautify that space. And what I think we're going to continue finding is that instead of dumping trash or overfilling trash cans there and the seagulls pulling stuff out and spreading it all over, folks are going to walk the 200 feet to the trash can at the bathroom, to the dumpster, put their trash in the dumpster, and we have not seen any level of increase of trash out there so far. So there's things that are completely in the city's area of responsibility. I would say generally that the question of signage, directional signage, are things that we are very serious about doing and getting straight. We've been pacing ourselves on that. So from my perspective, we need to go to, from my perspective, just me, as a visitor, we need to tear down every existing Morro Bay directional sign, welcome to Morro Bay sign, and start over in the sense of make sure we know what our one crisp logo is, make all those signs match, put them at the right places and those things. We've been pacing ourselves a little because we've been going through a process with the TBID and with the General Plan Advisory Committee on considering rebranding ourselves in the sense of a new logo, and that'll be coming in the next couple of months. And it might be the current logo, it might be a refreshed version of the current logo, or it might be there's 2 new logos to sort of choose from, so that's coming. But before we go start doing signs, we wanted to make sure we know what our branding is, so we're not doing a bunch of new signs and directional stuff with a branding element that may change. The and part, though, is partnerships with community organizations are crucial. So I was in a tourist community in December and drove into the, never been there in my life, and drove into the downtown. And the Christmas decorations stunned me. It was, over the streets, lights, greenery, all of those things. And I found out the city had nothing to do with it. That was all essentially their version of the Downtown Association, and it was paid for by the revenues from the farmers market that occurred. This was about 50 miles from the Canadian border. It was cold in December, and there's no farmers market during the off season, but the downtown, the equivalent of the Downtown Association had a farmers market in the summer, and they plowed the proceeds from that farmers market into one of the things they did was fantastic winter destinations or winter decorations. So partnership with that young lady that just raised her hand with the chamber. Yeah.
The very mission of the Chamber of Commerce is to empower businesses, and that means to connect business owners with access to education, with resources to improve their businesses, with access. We're doing social media boot camp with Instagram, Facebook, with healthy, robust relationships with residents of the community, so that they will steal from later, so that they're constantly thriving. To be a convener of leadership in the business community, to share ideas with one another, to get excited about fixing storefronts, power washing sidewalks, the really nitty-gritty stuff that will bring beautification, business by business, through empowered business owners. So if you're not supporting your chamber now, support it, because the chamber is independently funded by members. It is not a city organization. So get on board, because that's exactly what we're trying to do.
And I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. It's not often a great calling card, honestly. So, and there's a. I think Morro Bay has an opportunity, and I said that because I don't think the local government is best positioned to be the catalyst in this, but many of you are, and Erica is, and that is, why don't we have a retail restaurant bid in Morro Bay? And maybe it could start with just the lease sites in the Embarcadero. But if retail and restaurant got together and said, let's form a business improvement district similar to your business improvement district, and we'll use the proceeds from our business improvement, whatever they want to do, a half cent sales, a 0.25% sales tax. I did the math once. I think it is $1.2 million a year or something like that for downtown and Embarcadero. If there was a catalyst that said, and this goes to that Roger Brooks thing, because he said specifically, when you're rebranding yourself, it takes a citizen-led effort. He said the local government is ineffective at doing it. He actually said the chamber is ineffective at doing it too, for a very specific reason. But often when you're branding a destination, you want to focus on one aspect. Your brand is going to be whatever that town was in Canada that's the mountain biking town. And that's their brand, and it's phenomenal, and it helps every other business that's not a mountain biking business. It helps every restaurant, every hotel. But anyway, a retail restaurant bid that said we're going to reinvest the bid proceeds, the assessed funds, in decorating this, cleaning the streets, decorating the streets, doing all of those things. I think that's a lane in Morro Bay that's wide open, and Bill Shuchuk at Sweet One Gallery would listen to somebody about that, because he and I have talked about it. Joan.
This is a city revenue question. So hopefully you're not from the government, you're here to help and you can answer. The question I have is, I first of all, for all the employees and the efforts that they put in, and all the employees that came before you that are retired, they deserve their retirement. In terms of the revenue deficit that you spoke of with CalPERS, and understanding that a lot of California cities are in that position, if, as a former HR director and benefits manager, I looked at those things. And somebody who understands revenue and employees' needs and retirement, going forward in the future, is there anything that the city is doing now to have a conversation with CalPERS to say, we cannot sustain this, because that's what you're saying. We cannot sustain this for our future employees. Are we shopping those benefits? Because in private business, we would look at that and we would say, you know what? That's one plan. We probably need to go with plan B. We need to shop our employee retirement benefits and look at how we're doing this for future generations.
It's a great question, and there's some huge challenges close to impossibilities with it. So first point observation I would make is that PEPRA, pension reform that passed about 3 years ago, is likely sustainable over the long term. The issue is not Dave Buckingham or Jen Little, who were hired in the last 2 years. The issue is unsustainable retirement commitments made in 2000 in that time period. So, and also just because there's a joy on the part of some to poke at government employees and talk about that pension net. So the pension system for new California employees is almost identical to Social Security. So your city employees don't participate in Social Security. So I pay 6.25% of my paycheck goes to CalPERS for my pension, and the city pays 6.25%, just like the payroll tax you pay and the Social Security tax your employees pay. So it's sustainable. It's likely mostly sustainable in the long term. There's still, this issue of investment income is an issue. More to your point of how about shopping this around? I forget the city, but it was about 2.5 times bigger than us. This is a conference I was at. They asked the question to CalPERS, how much to buy out? $980 million. That's the unfunded liability for a city about 2.5 times our size. So the point there is that there is no way we're going to be able to buy out of CalPERS because of it would be that kind of number for us. And so what from my perspective, what we need to do is we need to control costs, and then we need to expand revenue. Or we need to control costs and then cut services. Those are our two choices.
The city just said, we can't pay that, we're not going to pay it.
Then all of the city employees that have gone before would stop getting pension checks, because they're
or get less.
So it's without being too flippant, it's an impossibility, because other cities have stopped doing it because they're unable to pay the bill. And first, I should point out that not only is almost every other California city in the same boat that we are, but Morro Bay is actually in a better position than most because of some good financial decisions made over the past decade, by paying down our side fund and some other weird CalPERS stuff. So, huge kudos to our city council for funding a 10-year budget forecast. So we knew what our problem was on about December the 29th. I think it hit the paper for slow on, oh my goodness, there's going to be some big issue in early March. And so we have good tools in place to be able to see this and to address it. We have time to address it. The city council has taken strong and appropriate steps already. on giving guidance for this year's budget. But really the choices are, well, so there are cities that have been unable to pay their bill to CalPERS. CalPERS either stopped or drastically reduced the contributions to their retired employees, who in turn sued the city. And so there's not a way out. There's got to be a way through.
The last question I have is surrounding water and sewer rate increases that are coming up in the 218 book that's coming. Last time we tried to get the city to put together a live water and sewer rate estimation calculator, and some of us got together and we ended up doing it ourselves so that we can understand the impact to our businesses, since a lot of us with laundry rooms are in the highest tier rate for payment for water and services. And we need those services, we totally understand what's going on. Will the city be putting together a water and sewer rate calculator so that we can understand the impact to our business?
2 points. One, a pre-point, and then on your question. The pre-point is the city could choose right now to forget about any water reclamation facility, to keep putting Band-Aids on. I know this is, I just want to make this point for this audience because everybody needs to hear this. We could keep putting Band-Aids on the existing wastewater treatment plant for as long as we can, and it would do nothing to the budget challenge that I just described, because that is all in the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund and has nothing to do with the general fund. So there is some communication in town of well, if we just didn't do this WRF thing, it would fix our budget problem. Two completely separate issues, and we could fire every water and sewer worker today, and it would not change that function either, because they're all paid from the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. I don't know that we're going to have an online calculator, but we are. So the water rate study we should be getting on Friday, tomorrow. That water rate study is going to be presented to the WRF-CAC, to the council, or to WRF-CAC, the CFAC, the Citizen Finance Committee, and the Public Works Advisory Board. The next few weeks, it will be presented to the City Council on April 25th. And we met yesterday to start working on, we don't have it yet, so we don't have the numbers, but what's the best way that we can communicate what the rates are and what they're going toward for consumers.
A water and sewer rate calculator would be a great way.
I thought it was just sewer.
So thank you. Actually, so it's a good point. So first, I don't disagree at all, and I spend a lot of time prioritizing too much work for a too small finance department. I got to tell you. So we've got, 2008, the Management Partners Study said the finance department is understaffed. 2013 or 14, the study said the finance department is understaffed. Our last two audits in writing in the findings, where we had findings, said you don't have enough people in your finance department. And so I'm balancing every day audit findings against WRF oversight, against paying checks to the people that we owe money to, and doing that in a finance department that's understaffed. I would love to be able to provide that service. I don't think we're going to get to an online cool calculator, but we're going to work hard to communicate the effective rates in a might not be an online calculator, but here's how you fill out the sheet, so you can do the math. I had another comment on that, but I forget what it was. Sewer rates, thank you. So yes, the current study is not a water rate study, it is a sewer rate study. Again, let me give more kudos to our city council. This was the previous city council. Some of you have heard me say this. For 20 years, Morro Bay did not touch our water rates. 20 years. The last comment then. The buying power of our water rates decreased 32% over those 20 years. By the 20th year, we were stealing, it's not stealing, we were taking $900,000 a year that should have been going to infrastructure, keeping our water lines from bursting and that stuff, and not investing that and using that for operations and maintenance. So the water rate increase that went into effect a year and a half ago was the result of 20 years of inaction, and the City Council corrected that. The sewer rates were right-sized in 2008, and then they were adjusted a year and a half ago along with the water rates to address an initial cost estimate for the water reclamation facility, and then we're doing a sewer rate study and likely a Prop 218 process this May and June to consider right-sizing the sewer rates, increasing the sewer rates for the final estimated cost of the projected water reclamation facility. So thanks, Neil. What's going on right now is not a water and sewer rates, it's just the sewer rates.
And then the water rates will have to be adjusted for the advanced filtering and the recycling of the water.
They could be.
That has to come out of the water.
So I'm gonna say this real quick and then get off the stage, and that is that's really complex. We're working to make it as clear as possible, but at some point if you've got a facility where there's sewage going into it and there's drinking water coming out of it, at some point that goes from a sewer facility to a water facility, and where those, which part of the rate is sewer and which part of water gets really technical. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that conversation, Dave. I know we digressed just a little bit off of tourism, but I know a lot of those things, as Joan pointed out, do affect operations of our hotels, laundry facilities, and so forth. Are there any further questions from the audience, generally regarding tourism, for any of our speakers here? We are over time. I highly apologize for that. So, seeing no further questions, we would call the annual stakeholder meeting adjourned. It is 11:55 a.m. Thank you all very much. Have a great day.